Anyone who knows me knows that I love the 1980s and hate the 1990s. The reason why: I spent most of my childhood through the 1980s. I turned 5 at the very tail end of 1980. My birthday is December 15th. Now, spending all of that time in what was basically a bright and cheery decade full of fun, because it was. I mean, for a kid anyway, I didn't really follow politics back then, so I didn't know a lot of the horrible shit that was going on. But as far as entertainment and fashion and music, people were wearing bright colors, pastels, neons, all of that. And the movies were all heroes and villains, where the heroes would win at the end, usually to triumphant, heroic music. And they didn't have a lot of ambiguity to them. They didn't have a lot of that, like in the 90s, where it was, oh, I have this dark, horrible past that like taints everything, where I've almost become a bad guy myself, sort of thing. The closest we can really come to that is like Lethal Weapon with Martin Riggs obsessing over his dead wife. But even then, he becomes another unambiguous good guy at the end. So there's that. And the music, I mean, could you get anything more uplifting than most of the music from the 1980s? It was all bouncy and fun with synthesizers and saxophones and stuff. It was great. But then comes the 1990s. Now, granted, that was my teen years, and we know how rough those can be. And I went through some other horrible shit in the 90s that I don't want to discuss. But even so, the decade got kind of dark at times. You look at what people were wearing. Unlike the 80s, they were wearing really muted colors, and some of them were pretty dark. And people were dressing in very baggy things and wearing those plaid shirts around their waists and all of that stuff. And then you listen to the music. I could go the rest of my life and die happy, never again hearing Smells Like Teen Spirit. Ugh. And there was this other song, I think it's from the 90s, where it's like, despite all my rage, I'm still just a rat in a cage. That's very illustrative of the 90s, even that song, if that song isn't from them. But, I mean, a lot of the heroes and villains, now the heroes had that dark side to them, where they almost become a bad guy themselves. And it was just not a very fun decade. Now, granted, there were some fun things. If you look at something like, say, Wayne's World, where they turn all of these established conventions on their head, that was kind of fun. But it was, for me at least, more the exception rather than the rule. I mean, I could point to something like Ren and Stimpy as well, but even so, there was just a darkness. Even to the comedy, there was a certain darkness to it that was just under the surface. I like to illustrate this by describing or reciting the lyrics from certain theme songs to sitcoms. For example, Perfect Strangers from the 1980s. The theme song is, how does it go? It goes, sometimes the world looks perfect, nothing to rearrange. Sometimes you just get the feeling like you need some kind of change. No matter what the odds are this time, nothing's gonna stand in my way. This flame in my heart, like a long-lost friend, gives every dark street a light at the end. Standing tall on the wings of my dreams. I mean, come on, could that be more uplifting?
Now we are so happy we do the dance of joy! Hey! Die, 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 die. Hey, 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 hey!
It's illustrative of the whole decade, what it was like. Now, some of you are going to say, gosh, that's sappy, but seriously, you had to live it. You had to be there. It was really uplifting, and that's what I like in my fiction, is an escape from the darker reality of real life. Now, compare this to a certain popular sitcom from the 1990s. So no one told you life was gonna be this way. Your job's a joke, you're broke. Your love life's DOA. It's like you're always stuck in second gear when it hasn't been your day, your week, your month, or even your year. But I'll be there for you. Yeah, okay. So you compare that to Perfect Strangers, it's like everything's going wrong. Okay, you have a friend, but wow, is your life shit. So that is the 1990s. I spent a brief time in film school. I moved for a relationship, probably shouldn't have, but it got me into animation eventually, which got me working on some independent films, working in video games. I can show you my IMDb page if you want. But point being that I wanted to do sci-fi. You know me, I love Star Wars. I wanted to do that sort of space epic kind of thing. And it seemed like everyone else in my class was doing these depressing things about like suicide and being rejected by your family and oh, the drama and all that shit. And I was like, guys, seriously, is that really how you want your life to be? Is that really what you want to produce? It just, man, I never understood the appeal of the 1990s, but the 80s were so much fun. Anyway, I'll talk to you later.